I'm in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I'm with Chef Christian Puglisi, founder of the much loved and highly respected restaurant Relae, the first and only Michelin-star restaurant in the world that is fully organically certified. Christian, pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
Why was it really important that you took Relae down that path to be fully organically certified?
Having a child and having to feed a child gave me a very different responsibility than I was used to. And I started thinking of food and gastronomy, not only from a gastronomic point of view or a technical point of view, but also way more as nutrition. I started sort of this self-research and trying to understand, why are we not certified organic? Like what is it that we choose not to be organic and why? So now today we've sort of moved forward and established our own farm last year. Yeah, so we have our own about 20 hectares now with 2 hectares of vegetables for the restaurants, and also cows and hens and eggs and geese and pigs and all sorts of things.
So Relae, in a sense, has become more than just a restaurant now. That state of mind, the philosophy, you're creating an ecosystem. And one of the things that I've always been actually very interested in is that idea that food eaten should be grown locally, and that the money then and the ecosystem is kind of supported in a way which is much more beneficial to a local place. Is that something you would agree with?
Yeah, but what I think is important is also not to look at local as something geographical. Because for me, what is the dogma that always wins is quality. To me, finding a small producer, as we have done in Sicily, that has, I believe, 7 hectares, that sends us the olive oil, but is a very small producer that makes very, very high quality, and someone that we connect with directly, I think that's also local.
I think it's a very interesting point, and you touched on again that word that seems very important to me, which is quality. Can you just talk a little bit more about that in terms of how that's defined you as a professional and as a human being?
For me, the quality I try and source more, as in the produce being harvested at the right time, being cultivated in the right way, also ethically done right, in as good a symbiosis with nature as possible, and then brought to the kitchen and then used in a way that I think is with that quality in mind, which also I think you also gives you the responsibility of not fucking around with it too much. I mean, cutting away stuff and trimming to the point. Did you then gain quality, or did you reduce the quality? Because you lost a lot of those carrots at this point. And for me, I think that's interesting to challenge, particularly in this sort of higher end of gastronomy sort of world.
Let's talk about your book, A Book of Ideas, which is an unusual way for a chef perhaps to talk about the recipes that they've created.
So starting off, it was, sort of untouched ground for me. And I was very much focusing on, I didn't want to do anything that everybody else was doing. And then I sort of felt like, it feels like we have some concepts, which would be a very Buddhist kind of way of thinking of food, concepts more than dishes, right? I want to try and understand this a bit more, and I want to try and see if I can dig into what is behind the dishes and write a book about that instead of writing about the recipe. Because the recipe is boring. I mean, there's nothing interesting about how this dish is executed, because the recipe is how it's executed. I think how it's thought, that is interesting.
I believe as a maker, as a designer, as a creative person myself, that actually you can't pick up anything without that why being very deep within you that informs the way that you want to make things. I'm kind of really interested for you to tell me a bit more about how you went about designing the dining experience at Relae and sort of what informed your thinking.
As I started at Noma, I found myself in a kitchen where you had a totally open view of the restaurant and you were very integrated. in the restaurant. You would really see facial expressions, you would see how people would approach the table, you would see how people would enjoy themselves or not, and these things. That to me was a very important piece of the puzzle for me to be able to go out and understand what is it that I want? What kind of experience do I want to have when I'm in a restaurant? To me, it was very important to be able to create a space that would be casual, be relaxing, be homey. Like for me, it was very important that I would feel at home in this. The old-fashioned, fine dining, posh, crystals, gold, like wow. But I want to live here? No. No, I'm not. I don't want to live in the Chateau de Versailles. It's beautiful, but it's not me. I don't feel home. I feel impressed. Why does a restaurant need to give you that impression? It doesn't make sense to me. I want to do something that feels like this is me. And that was way more limited than something like that.
What is the role, do you think, of leadership from your experience?
I think leadership is really, really important, and I think also I've come to understand that there's not one way of doing it. I mean, there's 100 ways of dealing with people, with staff. But I think what's always important is to have a vision. And to have a vision, I think you need to want to have something at heart and want to be able to not necessarily accomplish something, but speak, tell something, do something.
You write a lot in the book about making sourdough.
Yeah.
Which made me smile actually, with obviously the passion by which you approach that particular challenge and task. Should every single person be baking bread every day? And if so, why?
I think it would be a great thing for you to do. I mean, I think I have that same feeling about that as I have about farming, and that might take up more of my time today, because I really feel that this way of grounding yourself and nurturing yourself in the same way, it's a win-win situation. Like, we go about thinking how to download a mindfulness app so you can relax a little bit, and then we hurry off and go buy takeout food. No, that doesn't make like, the solution is just in front of you. Food in its whole perspective gives you so much that is so important to us, and the making of food, I think, is so important, and it's such a good way of connecting with people around you. And when I have my kid on my own, to cook food with him, I think it's a great pleasure of him touching things and understanding things. And then it's so inspiring to be with kids around food, because they just see things, so many things are new for them, and you realize what it is you're having between your hands and how exciting it really is, but you just forgot because you're just focusing on all sorts of other things. I think baking, farming, cooking, fermenting, doing all these things, it takes your time, but it takes your attention for some time. I think it's very healthy, and I think it's very important for everybody to do.
So my last question to you is, can you make great food without love?
I really, really don't think so. I mean, I think it's if it's a craft, it's about a passion, you know. If it's in a home for yourself, it's about love for yourself and your body and what you nurture yourself with. If it's for your family, it's obviously for that. I think really that food and cooking and eating can really be at the center of the universe. I mean, it's something that all of us do, and that is the same with love, right? So there's connections there that I think is just so important and so connected.
Christian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.